So I've been working on this Toyota truck, Tacoma. It's 96. Pretty oily. Like you can change stuff and it starts leaking oil everywhere anyway. This truck has been run every day. All in is pretty gunked up. Anyway, I changed the fuel pump. It's not getting fuel for some reason. He like drove it. I had to go get him. Anyway, I changed this down here. Changed the fuel filter because we thought that might have been what it was. Then I talked to a friend. He said it was probably the fuel regulator or relay. Fuel relay, and it looks like it's working because I drove it and then it just quit working, like the whole truck. So anyway, then we changed the crankshaft sensor because it was oily and it was just, this truck's been used like a lot since he got it. So it's behind the alternator down there. It's a flat one, and what you got to do is you got to take the alternator off, and it's like 3 bolts that holds that alternator bracket on. So you got to take the 2 bolts out for the alternator, which there's one there, and then there's one on the bottom. It's 14 millimeter on the bottom. Then once you get that, you can take your bolts off here and unplug it there. And then there's a bracket right there. There's one bolt right there, that big one, and there's one right behind the alternator. Then there's one on the front. And then you get that off there, and then you can get to then there's 2 bolts holding that camshaft sensor on. So it still could be that, but I'm gonna find out. So then we got a fuel pump. We had that first. And well, I took the fuel tank out. Finally, it's been kind of halfway decent weather, but now it's getting cold. But I broke a bolt. Everything's so rusted under here. So this is the fuel. This is the one of the brackets. So rusted and everything. And then I put the fuel pump in, and I broke one bolt off on the fuel tank. I'll show you that. But I fixed it. This is the fuel relay back up under here, which I gotta put it back in there because I still have it on the table. Anyway, it plugs in there. It's a green one. I'm pretty sure that's it. And it goes up right there to that hole way back there. Anyway, you don't have to take this off. You don't want to. You just have to take this panel off. And I don't know if there's anything else, but I'm going to go drill this down here. But first, I'm going to tap it. I had to fix these door handles. So basically, I took wire and I drilled in here on the side, like right up in here, and then I put a piece of wire, so now you can open the door better because the door handle was coming off. I did it on both sides. I've modified this truck so much. I've welded everything on it. It's so rusted. Like, look at this, it's so rusted. But I put this big piece of iron on up there. I cut some of that. I think I cut some of that. I don't remember, but anyway, someone else had that under there on the back. But we gotta fix the U-joints because this is a U-joint. Check this out. Look at this. Like I hear it clanking. I was like, okay. I like these because they had grease fittings in them. So here's the fuel tank. I sprayed it with a bunch of WD-40 and stuff to get it, but I broke that one off. Basically, I got all these other ones out. It was easy. If they didn't feel like it was gonna break, I just tightened them a little bit and they would come out. But that one tightened. As soon as I tried to tighten a little bit, it snapped. But I put a metal screw in there. I chopped it off with I took and cut it. I drilled the bolt out first, and then I took a big metal screw and I put it in there, chased the threads or whatever, and then I took cut the threads, and then I cut that bolt off a little bit and put it in there. So now I'm gonna go try to get this we'll go drill this bolt out and see if I can modify it so I can put this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and take a punch this so I can have a place to drill. I'm gonna drill this out and drill a little bigger, or get this however. I'll put another bolt in there, clean this all out, and I can put my stuff up there. And I could tack weld this, but I think I was going to take a wrench and put it up in here and see if I can hold it. I don't know, it's such a rust mess. Hey, you ever try to weld this stuff? It's impossible almost. So it seems these Toyota Tacoma under there is the fuel filter. I had to put the old filter back on because newer aftermarket ones, you gotta watch because they'll start spraying out in the front or leak. This is the inlet side down here for this, and it goes up and it goes at your motor. But yeah, it seems like there was some problems. Now the back one's starting to leak a little bit. Doesn't matter how many crush washers you put in there. I dropped like 500 of them son of monkeys on there. Had to keep getting new ones. I bought a bunch of them a long time ago for when I was fixing on a dump truck. I bought a whole kit. Truck runs, starts good now. Let's go see if let's check it out here. All right, I'm gonna put these in my pocket. Let's make sure it's not in gear. Let's put the key in there. Let's turn the key over. The key's so bad. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna set this up like so. Here we go. I'm gonna use a button on the side. Runs. It's an old beater truck, man. This thing's been, I had to take out like basically 14 gallons of gas, either full of gas, and I had that one full. Yeah, so that's cool. So I'm gonna take out this drive shaft because if you look at it, gotta replace that U-joint. So I'll show how I want to do that to the best of my knowledge. So let me take it off up here with the drive shaft or the transfer case, but those couple bolts, I think I'm gonna tighten them back up because I figured this would be a pain to slide out. Anybody knows that sometimes there's a ring that will hold this in, and this sucker slid right out. So here's a closer look at this U-joint. It's pretty. I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to happen. So I'd say all the little needles are gone in there, and you see where it's been hitting. So okay, so after a while, I finally got the truck going. I've had some problems with fuel. Changed the crankshaft sensor, changed the fuel filter, but fuel filter, aftermarket fuel filter, will like spray. Put the one on here. Had to finally drop the tank because that wasn't it. We thought it was a dude in Australia. I asked him because he was a pretty good friend, and he said maybe the fuel regulator. It's really hard to diagnose stuff without being there, so he could only guess like any other good mechanic. So I took it apart, took the thing apart, and it clicked and it was working right. And basically with the Toyotas, they have to crank before they start pumping. That's because the relay will kick over when it's on the on position. After it's been cranked, it will flip over. So we're gonna go down in the woods here and we're gonna see what we can come up with. I finally fixed the back U-joint, so let's see what he's got going on here. Let's see if we can put it in full low. I don't know. He don't want me to tear his truck up because this is his little farm truck he uses, and I am gonna get a little bit of stuff. It actually does have a messed up frame a little bit, so we're going to take it nice and slow down through here because we're not in my monster truck. Call that. I'm going to go and I'm going to try to turn around. I'm going to get a bunch of wood and I'm going to see what I can come up with. Just a little bit, well, not a bunch of wood, just going to get me some. So we have it off the clutch now. So I had a few fuel leaks that I had to tighten up. I can't tighten lines up super high, like tight, because I'll strip stuff out and I'll round them off. I've actually done lug nuts. I've actually hand tightened them and I've done stuff. So anyway, so I'm gonna go down here and get this and we'll see what's going on. That was a lot of work lifting those up on there. Anyway, he's like, don't load it too heavy. Okay, the story with this truck, my channel, I did fix the frame a little bit. Didn't fix it perfect, but we're gonna try it out, see. A little 5-speed deal, I don't know. But we'll see what happens here. All right, so I made it through there pretty good. So looks awesome, looks awesome. Put this bumper on the front too. Looks pretty good.